won the kingdom that slept beneath the constellations. It is said that, before memory learned how to write itself into stone, the sky was the first archive. Before borders, before names, before the quiet weight of years began to press upon the earth, there was a night sky untouched by time. The stars did not rush. They did not burn with urgency. They breathed slowly, patiently, like a great celestial chest rising and falling above an unseen land. Beneath that sky, where darkness felt gentle rather than empty, a kingdom once slept. No banners marked its edge. No walls declared its power. It did not announce itself to travelers or carve its victories into rock. Instead, it listened. It is whispered that this kingdom turned its gaze upward more often than it looked ahead. While other civilizations counted seasons by harvest and war, this one counted silence between stars. Where memory fades, whispers tell us the kingdom still exists. Not as a place that can be reached by foot or map, but as a way of being beneath the heavens. The first image we are given is not of stone, but of stillness. A wide plain under a moonless sky, the air cool, unmoving. Above, the constellations drift as they always have, untroubled by centuries. Below, the land holds its breath. It is said the kingdom was never destroyed. No fire came. No army crossed its threshold. There were no final screams, no sudden endings. Instead, something softer occurred, something more difficult to see. The kingdom was forgotten. Maps loosened their grip on its name. Cartographers left blank spaces where certainty once lived. Songs that once carried its stories began to shorten, their verses thinning until only melodies remained. Parents spoke of it less often. Children stopped asking. Memory, like mist, lifted slowly from the ground. Only the stars remained faithful. Beneath the silence, fragments endure. Stone foundations still rest where buildings once breathed with life. They are worn now, softened by wind and dust, but not random. Some stones lean toward the place where the moon rises at certain times of year. Others align with a cluster of stars that no longer bears the same name it once did. Nothing here feels accidental. Even in ruin, intention hums quietly beneath the surface. It is said the people of this kingdom believed the sky was not distant, but intimate. That the stars were not cold lights, but listening presences. They believed memory did not live in ink or bone, but in alignment, in the careful relationship between earth and heaven. Rituals were not loud affairs. There were no towering processions, no shouting crowds. Instead, gatherings occurred at night beneath open air. Breaths were counted. Steps were slow, voices lowered until words became almost unnecessary. The sky did the speaking. Some believe the people traced the stars not to predict fate, but to remember who they were. Each constellation held a lesson. Each shifting pattern was a reminder that nothing truly disappears, it only changes position. Yet history, as we know it, struggles here. There are no definitive records, no clear dates, no royal lineage carved into stone. What remains feels uncertain, half real, half dreamed. Scholars disagree, and perhaps they always will. Was this a single kingdom, or a loose gathering of sky listeners spread across many lands? Did it exist in one place, or in many, connected by shared silence rather than roads? The contradiction deepens the mystery. How could a civilization so devoted to the heavens vanish, while the stars above endured unchanged? Some whispers suggest the disappearance was not accidental. That knowledge, once held, was deliberately softened, allowed to blur so it could not be misused. That the people understood something fragile about attention itself. That to preserve certain truths, one must allow them to fade from common grasp. In forgotten corners of the earth, there are structures that seem unfinished, yet perfectly complete. Circular stone enclosures open to the sky. Stairways that lead nowhere but upward. Chambers without roofs, designed not to shelter but to reveal. When moonlight passes through these spaces, shadows form shapes that feel intentional. Spirals, crossings, points of convergence where starlight briefly rests before moving on. It is easy to imagine figures once standing here, not in worship, but in quiet companionship with the night. Dust gathers gently now. Wind moves through empty thresholds. Silence settles where voices once breathed together. And yet, the kingdom does not feel gone. The emotional journey of this place is not one of loss, but of transformation. As curiosity deepens, awe replaces the need for certainty. The kingdom reveals itself less as a location and more as a practice, a way of listening deeply enough that the world begins to speak back. Some believe this civilization understood that permanence was not sacred, that what lasts forever often grows rigid, while what fades can remain alive in subtler forms. Perhaps they chose to dissolve rather than harden, to become memory instead of monument. It is said their children were taught not to memorize names, but to recognize patterns, to notice when the stars returned to familiar places, to feel the rhythm of time not as a straight line, but as a slow, circling breath. When the kingdom finally loosened its hold on the earth, there was no ceremony, no farewell, just a gradual turning inward, structures left to weather, rituals practiced less often, stories spoken only at night, then only in whispers, then only in thought. Eventually, even thought grew quiet. Yet on certain nights, beneath certain skies, something stirs. Those who lie awake long enough may feel it, a sense of being watched not with judgment, but with patience. A reminder that the sky has always been a mirror, that above us exists a vast memory, indifferent to forgetting, waiting without demand. Perhaps the kingdom never intended to remain on earth at all. Perhaps it was always meant to exist only in reflection, mirrored eternally in the night sky, carried not by ruins, but by attention. Where memory fades, it is said, the kingdom sleeps. Not buried, not lost, simply resting, waiting for those who remember to look up and listen. And as the stars continue their slow passage overhead, unchanged by the passing of empires, the kingdom breathes with them, silent, sacred, and unseen. To the stone gate that never learned its name. It is said that dawn is the hour when forgotten things are most willing to be seen. Before the sun fully rises, before the world remembers its noise, mist gathers gently against ancient stone. It moves slowly, like breath held too long, drifting through broken grass and settling into every crack and hollow. In this quiet hour, a gate stands alone. It has no name. No inscription softens its surface. No symbol claims its purpose. The stone is worn smooth, where time has passed its fingers again and again. Polishing away intention, moss grows where hands once lingered, shadows rest where meaning once stood. Whispers tell us this gate has always been here, and yet no one remembers why. The question does not arrive loudly. It floats instead, light as fog. What is a gate when no one remembers what it guarded? The story does not hurry to answer. It lingers. The stone itself invites attention. Each block is heavy, patient, pressed into place by hands long turned to dust. The surface carries scars, chips, fractures, soft hollows where rain has rested. Cold shadows cling to its inner curve even as light brushes the outer edge. It feels less like an entrance and more like a pause in the landscape, a held breath between what was and what might have been. Where memory fades, the gate remains. In forgotten corners of the earth, gates are often celebrated for what they protect: cities, temples, kingdoms. They mark boundaries, declare authority, separate inside from out. But this gate feels different. There is no sense of defense here, no sign of exclusion. It does not rise in warning, nor does it demand permission. Some believe it was never meant for armies or kings. Instead, it waited for quieter crossings. The land around it holds subtle clues. The gate is aligned not with roads, but with the sky. At certain times of year, moonlight passes directly through its opening, framing the horizon beyond. On particular nights, stars gather there, momentarily held within its stone curve before continuing their slow journey. It is said that long ago, people came here not to conquer, but to arrive. Seasonal rituals may have passed beneath this arch, marking the turning of time, the soft exchange between darkness and light. Quiet vows may have been spoken here, carried upward rather than forward. Breath may have been counted, not steps. Silence, not sound, was the offering. History offers fragments, but they do not agree. Some accounts suggest the gate sealed knowledge too fragile to survive memory. Wisdom that could not be written, only experienced, and therefore allowed to fade when those who understood it were gone. Others believe the gate marked a threshold for the soul, crossed only in stillness, perhaps only once. There are those who insist nothing was ever behind it at all. That the gate itself was the destination. Beneath the silence, contradictions gathered gently. Archaeological traces hint at activity, worn stone paths that lead nowhere, obvious circular arrangements of smaller rocks nearby, as though people once gathered not to pass through, but to remain close, to listen. No records name the builders. No myth claims ownership. Even stories hesitate here, their edges soft, their voices uncertain. It is as if the gate was deliberately released from explanation, allowed to drift into ambiguity. Emotion gathers slowly. At first, there is curiosity, the simple wonder of encountering something so present and yet so empty of instruction. Then, gradually, a deeper feeling emerges, a calm melancholy, the sense of standing before intention that has outlived its language. The gate becomes a mirror. It reflects the way meaning fades even when stone remains, how structures endure while purposes dissolve, how we inherit forms without knowing the vows once spoken beneath them. Imagine standing before it at night. The ground cool beneath your feet, the air still. Above, the stars pass in quiet procession, indifferent to your presence, yet somehow attentive. The gate frames the darkness beyond, offering no promise, no threat. It does not invite you forward. It does not turn you away. It simply exists. Marked by the moon, the stone seems almost alive, breathing with the earth, expanding and contracting with temperature, responding subtly to the passing of time. Dust settles in its seams. Wind moves through its opening without resistance. Sound enters and leaves unchanged. Some believe that was its purpose. Not to hold, not to block, but to teach patience. In a world increasingly defined by motion, the gate stands as a lesson in stillness. It reminds us that not every threshold must be crossed, that some entrances exist only to be acknowledged, not entered. Perhaps those who built it understood something rare, that mystery loses its power when forced open, that certain truths require waiting, not action, silence, not answers. As centuries passed, those who remembered the gate's meaning grew fewer. Rituals softened. Alignments went unnoticed. Eventually, even curiosity faded. The gate was no longer approached with intention, only passed by or avoided entirely, its presence vaguely unsettling, its emptiness misunderstood. Yet it never fell. Earthquakes shifted the land. Storms wore at its edges. Civilizations rose and folded into dust. Still, the gate remained upright, balanced, patient. It does not speak. It does not open. It does not close. And in this refusal to perform, it becomes sacred. The packing of the story slows here, like a heartbeat settling into rest. The listener is invited not to solve the mystery, but to sit within it, to feel the quiet weight of unanswered questions, to notice how the absence of explanation can feel surprisingly full. Perhaps the gate was never meant to be remembered clearly. Perhaps nomming it would have diminished it, pinned it down, made it manageable. By remaining unnamed, it stays open to every interpretation, and none. Some entrances were never meant to be crossed again. Only remembered. Only felt. As night deepens, the mist returns. It curls once more around the stone, softening its edges, blurring its outline. From a distance, the gate almost disappears, becoming part of the landscape, part of the breath of the earth itself. And when dawn comes again, the gate will still be there. Waiting. Not for footsteps. Not for answers. But for the quiet moment when someone pauses and listens. Perhaps that is enough. Perhaps it always was.